once it notices you. My name is Aaron Cole, and for most of my life, I believed danger announced itself. Sirens, shouting, breaking glass. I thought if something bad was going to happen, you'd feel it coming, like pressure in the air before a storm. I was wrong. I learned that danger can be patient, quiet, and once it notices you, it doesn't forget. This started when I was 24, working nights at a roadside way station that barely qualified as a building. It sat between two counties, miles from the nearest town, surrounded by pine trees and empty highway. My job was simple: log trucks, wave most cars through, and stay awake until sunrise. There were no cameras worth mentioning, no security, just me, a radio that barely worked, and a pot of coffee that tasted like burnt metal. Most nights passed in silence. Trucks roared by, bugs smacked against the glass. The kind of place where time stretched thin, until one night just after 1:30 a.m., when a pickup truck pulled off the highway and stopped directly in front of the station. That alone was strange. Private vehicles didn't stop unless they were lost. The engine stayed running. I stepped outside, flashlight in hand, and immediately noticed something wrong. The driver's side door was open. The interior light was on, but no one was inside. Then I smelled it. Copper, sharp and unmistakable. I followed the scent around the truck and froze. The truck bed was soaked. Dark stains streaked the metal, pooled in the grooves. There were handprints on the tailgate, not smeared, pressed, like someone had braced themselves there. I stood completely still, my brain scrambling for logic. Hunting accident, animal hit, anything but what it felt like. That's when a voice spoke behind me. "Truck's not mine." I spun around so fast I nearly dropped the flashlight. A man stood a few feet away, tall, mid-30s maybe, wearing work boots and a gray hoodie. His clothes were clean, too clean, no blood, no dirt. His face was calm, flat, like he'd walked up on me reading a menu. "I didn't touch it," he added, almost helpfully. My throat locked up. I asked him where the driver was. He looked past me, down the road, then back at the truck. "Gone," he said. "Wasn't when I got here." Every instinct I had screamed to get back inside, to call someone, anyone. But the man didn't move closer. He didn't threaten me. He just stood there, watching my reaction like it mattered. I told him I was calling the sheriff. That's when he smiled. Not wide, not friendly. Just enough to show he understood something I didn't. "I wouldn't," he said. "They'll ask questions you can't answer." Before I could respond, he walked past me, climbed into the passenger seat of the truck, and drove away. I stood there long after the sound of the engine disappeared, staring at the stains that shouldn't have existed. I reported it anyway. Nothing came of it. No missing persons, no follow-up. The report disappeared like it never mattered. I quit that job 2 weeks later. For a while, life went back to normal. I moved, got a new apartment, a new job. I convinced myself it was a one-time thing. Wrong place, wrong night. Then, 6 months later, I started seeing the same sedan. Dark blue, tinted windows, always parked nearby, outside my building, across from the grocery store. Once idling at a stoplight beside me, just long enough for me to notice the driver never looked over. I never saw who was inside. I didn't call the police. I didn't even tell anyone. Some part of me knew that acknowledging it would make it real again. The night it escalated, I was driving home from a late shift. Rain blurred the highway. My radio crackled with static. I was tired enough that every mile felt heavier than the last. I didn't notice the sound at first. A dull tapping, rhythmic, soft. I turned the radio down. The sound stayed. Tap, tap, tap. I checked my mirrors. Nothing. Pulled over briefly. Walked around the car. Nothing dragging. Nothing loose. When I got back inside, the tapping stopped. I laughed it off and kept driving. 10 minutes later, the rear windshield exploded inward. I screamed, swerved, barely managed to keep the car on the road. Something slammed into the back seat, hard enough to crack the headrest. I stopped screaming when I realized what I was seeing in the rear view mirror. A shape, moving. A man was inside my car. He'd come through the trunk. He was crawling forward, glass embedded in his sleeves, eyes locked onto mine with an intensity that erased every rational thought. I don't remember deciding to do it. I just yanked the steering wheel and slammed the brakes. The car spun, skidded, stopped sideways across the shoulder. The man was thrown forward, crashing into the dashboard. I bolted out of the car and ran. I didn't look back until I reached the tree line. By then, he was gone. The trunk was open. Inside was a single item, a plastic-wrapped bundle, small and heavy, leaking something dark and foul-smelling onto the carpet. I didn't touch it. I didn't call anyone. I drove straight to a car wash, cleaned what I could, and sold the car 2 days later. I moved again, changed jobs again, changed routines. Nothing followed. Years passed. But sometimes, late at night, when a car idles too long outside my window, or I hear footsteps where none should be, I remember the man at the way station. How calm he was. How sure. And I understand something now that I didn't back then. Some horrors don't hunt randomly. They test you. They watch how you react. And if you survive once, they assume you're capable of surviving again. Which means, sooner or later, they'll come back. Just to be sure.